Oh my gosh. Where are we today? We are in a new place that's not the Plant.Body.Soul headquarters and podcast studio. We are here with our wonderful friend and guest, Kirk Strawn, recording live Plant.Body.Soul podcast with my co-host, Gordon.
Hi, Jen.
Here from the Love Car of Peace Train at the Walter Warehouse located in Phoenix, Arizona, right near downtown.
It's like the perfect little spot to hang out and chat. It is. That's what happens in this car all the time. People sit here and talk like this, just like we're doing.
It's so neat. And it's true, because when you come here to events, you pass by each of the cars, you can see all of the intimate moments just in terms of conversation and, memories being
They're always
here.
full. They're always full of people. And it's such a different experience in here than whatever else might be going on outside of here. But these are really special, intimate little spaces for people.
For those who are unfamiliar with Peace Train and Love is one of the cars. There's two others.
Right.
Right.
So the Peace Train is really built of these old World War II communications trailers. So I'm not sure on which side, but either where you're sitting or where I'm sitting, there would have been a big rack of equipment.
Oh, wow.
And then there would have been a little place to be housed. And so you could have, food and a place for your bed and things like that. And these things could even be dropped out of airplanes, and they would create a communication network. So you think of the internet and how there's nodes. And this is all, of course, 1940s technology, but they would connect with each other. And now you have a communication network.
Wow.
So Peace Train is built of these cars built for communication. Now, it was communication in wartime, and that's the other thing about Peace Train. Every bit of Peace Train is made of military hardware, and so they're being repurposed for another idea, which is, of course, peace.
Yeah. It's a full circle moment.
It really is. So there's 3 cars,
Right.
and they are...
Love, gratitude, and forgiveness. And so the original idea was, can we do a statement around peace? And the second Volkswagen that was ever created was the Kübelwagen, which is, it's like the German Jeep, if you will. And so that second Volkswagen, between the Beetle and the bus, we just couldn't, or I at least couldn't just let that go. We'd already built a big bus and thinking about freedom, and a big Beetle, which is about friends and community and connection. But we weren't telling the whole story. And so we built a giant Kübelwagen on a U.S. military Humvee. And then we got these World War II communication trailers, and we built it all into one big message of peace. Start with love, be grateful, and forgive are certainly 3 actions that are at least on the road to peace.
Sure.
Absolutely. And so relevant, I think, and poignant in this day and age that we're living in right now from all aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. Start with love seems to not always be the modus operandi of everyone today in our world.
Yeah. It's hard to find that place of love when there's so much other stuff that's in the way.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
With that being said.
It really takes an internal discipline to be able to look at the world in that way. This project, though, was followed up with one more car, which was Mona Lisa. And it was because we recognized that there was all of these forces trying to kind of split people and to generate fear and discontent and all of that. So Mona Lisa was built as, again, another sort of statement of kind of war energy, but her message is really to first transcend your fear. So that's kind of the I think the internal work. Fear, I mean, we're so stimulated in this world that our fight or flight is really on edge.
Oh yeah.
It's very hard for most of us to live in this society and not have our minds affected by that. So, but the idea of first being able to let go of that fear, which, just like we started this exercise and this discussion, we started by relaxing, and that is really the first step. Like, can you get past that emotional, excitement to be able to actually say, oh, am I starting with love or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That last part of that, am I starting with love or not? We have a mutual friend of ours, Garrett Brill, and in his podcast, he also said something very similar. It's like, am I making this statement from a place of love or from a place of fear? And just, I'm being able to ask those questions of ourselves, no matter how hard that might be, is really important. So it's beautiful to tie how we're all finding that to be the truth in some way.
And fear is a natural thing.
Like, totally.
It's something that's there, but today we have way too much overstimulation and continued sort of excitement state that really makes it hard to just take a deep breath, step back from it, and get centered and say, all right, what am I doing here? So that's why I wore my Start with Love t-shirt this morning. I had no idea that we were going to be filming in love, but I'm glad to have picked this one out.
You were feeling the love vibes.
Yeah, exactly.
Must have.
No surprise.
Must have.
All of these, well, each of the cars has its own interactive element that some people are aware of when they enter and some aren't. Can you share the interactive element of love?
Yeah. So one of the ideas is like, can you, are you changing and making a mark and leaving it? And so the dozen or so copper panels that the designer, Martha Baker, who you guys know, one of the very, very important and early contributors to creating the entirety of the Walter Project, and still involved. But each car had an artist and their teams who would design whatever was going to happen inside of those. So a couple things in here. Well, first, we're in the sleeper car.
Okay.
All these cars were meant, if you take them to Burning Man, to be able to sleep in them. They have an air conditioner. You can close the door, and they have beds basically in them. And so many people have also slept in here. But the other is these copper panels. We give people access to dies and hammers, and we do this at our events as well. And we allow people to leave their mark. So you can write your name, write a message of love, whatever it might happen to be. And so we've changed these panels out about a half a dozen times. They're starting to get pretty full. I see also our friends have also found it's really easy to leave your mark on the wood too. But, we put these out for people to interact with. So we accept that just like it's the supposed proper use.
Sure.
This is one of my favorite cars.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then the ceiling. You're saying that there might be some playa dust. There definitely is.
There's a lot of playa inside of this car because there's all of this ornate kind of fabric work and all that. So it's all there. It's certainly inside of the positions underneath here. And but I love that it cleans up really nicely. Yeah, it's embedded now. It's not. Yeah.
Can you explain what the playa is to our listeners who may not know what that might mean?
Yeah, if you've ever messed around with drywall and you see that white kind of hard material, it powders up and pulverizes really easily. The gypsum mines, which that's what that is in there, gypsum. The gypsum mines are really right next to where we go to Burning Man at Black Rock City. So it's basically a unrefined version of what's inside drywall. So it's literally a very, very, very fine powder. And
it gets into everything.
It's everywhere. I'm sure I have it under my fingernails or in my lungs, or it's definitely everywhere inside of the warehouse.
So speaking of the warehouse, this seems to be almost the permanent home of many of the art cars.
Yeah.
Whether it's Walter or Big Red or Peace Train. Tell us a little bit about the history of the warehouse.
Yeah. So we started in South Scottsdale at the Walter Dome, and that was where we built all those cars. It's where we built these. But as we built new cars, we ran out of room because we were bringing another project in and we'd build them there. And so we were in search for many years of a place where we could keep them all. We got Walter Studios. We put as many of them as we could in there for a while. And a friend said that this property might be for sale. This is a number of years ago, but I walked in and I saw the beautiful ornate truss work. It's really exactly the same building as the construction of the Walter Dome. It's from the same era, from the 40s, 30s, that sort of time frame. Only this one is 6 times as big, and it just looked like the place where these vehicles needed to live. And so we made an offer on the building as quickly as we could, and we were lucky enough to purchase it. And now it has been the home for most of our vehicles. We occupy about half of the building. The north end of this building we rent out to a heavy truck manufacturer who modifies giant earth movers and trucks and things like that, which is great. That really helped us get through the pandemic, to have a tenant when we shut everything else down. But it's a very large building, about 45,000 square feet, and we currently occupy about half of it.
Wow. And some of the history, what was it over in the past years
prior to?
Yeah, this
because
was...
there's some interesting
legacy items here, whether it's, I think it's maybe a furniture spray room that's the Rainbow Portal now.
Right.
What was the space?
Yeah, so all of the Walter spaces are some kind of obsolete business or technology. So, we're in a lumberyard, and there's, hardly any family-owned lumberyards anymore. An old film and recording studio, when, now you can do everything on all the equipment I'm looking around here that you have here. An old fire station that the fire trucks wouldn't fit in anymore. So this was a paper company. So the Zellerbach Paper Company occupied this building from its inception. And there on the west side of this is the old railroad slip. And they would have opened up the big doors and rolled giant rolls of paper in here. And paper used to be king. I mean, paper was everything, kind of pre-computers. It's how you recorded. It's how you kept everything,
Reading the newspaper? Remember?
Everything. Everything. Paper was everything. Not so much today. I mean, paper still plays a role, but this is kind of a remnant of those grander times. And Zellerbach was one of the biggest paper companies in the country, and this was their home. It did go through other iterations, and you mentioned there was a lot of light manufacturing that happened in here. So this Rainbow Portal that you mentioned is the old spray booth for a furniture manufacturer that was in here for a time. But it had been vacant for a while, for a few years, when we ended up buying it.
Okay.
It's cool to see what it's turned into, and we'll get more into that, I'm sure, when we start to walk through the...
Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people now have been through this place.
Oh, yeah.
It was the Frida Kahlo exhibit, the immersive experience.
Which was incredible, by the way.
Summer. It's been home to so many shows. They're cleaning it up today for roller skating for this weekend. And it's housed weddings and private events, part of the Super Bowl, just so many things. And it's really fun to bring people to this part of town, because people told us no one would ever come over here. We're across the railroad tracks in downtown. So we're about at 21st Avenue and Roosevelt. And, the studios is at 7th Avenue and Roosevelt, which even when we bought that, people said no one would ever come across 7th Avenue to come to any arts or entertainment. And it turns out they were wrong. Yeah, lots and lots of people come here. And it is interesting just to see a building like this come back to life and have it have this amazing second chance at being something that, this building easily could have been raised.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
So is there anything, having owned and operated out of the space for a number of years now, is there something that has been a surprise that you weren't, other than people actually really coming, and I think you knew that they were going to drive here and be here. Is there something about the building in particular that was a surprise, that we'll say a pleasant surprise?
Yeah, I think it's that what we saw in that first instant, which was a somewhat future version of what the potential of the space might be. that we would bring art, that we would bring the vehicles, that we'd bring the story and the history, and that we could actually establish a home here. And what we've seen is people have really connected with that. The beauty of the building, the way that our team, celebrates the old, exposed truss, the way that we light different parts of it. All of that is just a wonderful, it's reassuring that the arts can really connect with people of all different kinds of backgrounds and all different kind of people who have all been through here. And I think we've just barely begun. I mean, there's a lot of people who have yet to be here. And if you're listening now, definitely find a way to get here and check out the space. And I'm kind of curious what will happen in the future here. Like I said, we only occupy half the space now, and who knows what might happen.
So even the name, it's not spelled like a
normal warehouse.
Right. WHERE ? House. And I know, Gordon, you were very involved in the ideation and the creative work that it took to make this into what it is today. And I think that was a really excellent choice because it's like, where? Because we would tell people early on, it's around 21st Avenue and Roosevelt, and always the answer was, where? What's over there? And so, it's that surprise, there is something really cool over here, and maybe I should go over there. And who knows what might happen if I get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. I'd say isn't that the theme of all things Walter is like, get out, explore, second chances, surprise people. Yeah, all of that.
Use what we have.
Yeah, they do a great job of that. So you host a lot of events. You're doing a lot of different private and public events. How does this all come together? How does this happen? I mean, this is a high tech facility in all sense of the word, in terms of the production and the music and you have amazing musical bookings that come through here, and all of this has to be quite a bit of energetic output. So how do you make this happen?
So the warehouse is interesting. We have a tenant on about half of the space. That's a piece of the sustainability of this project. The other is, it's hard sometimes to have a business that is closed most of the days of the week actually make economic sense. But we have been very diligent in figuring out how to do that. So as it turns out, we are able to make this a sustainable, ongoing, financially viable project by the way that we produce the events. So events are ticketed if they're public facing generally. If they're private, there's a rental agreement. We have a liquor license. We run a bar. We don't sell any merch yet, but that probably will happen to help supplement that. But we have a team that's just very dedicated to understanding the business of entertainment. And I did not grow up in that, so I've had to learn it as we go as well. But I will say that the warehouse has turned out to be really a lead inside of the Walter Project as to how you can do all the things you want and still have it be economically viable. So, we make payroll and we keep our prices at a reasonable level for our clients, and it all is working.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I have to say that's one of the cool things I have always appreciated and respected about Walter is that the shows are accessible for many people. The ticket prices are affordable, and it helps build community that way.
Yeah, it's we had to make the conscious decision to not have like VIP and bottle service and those sorts of things, which are a foundation and required for a lot of entertainment venues to be able to exist.
Yeah.
But we just made it up in different ways. And so, yeah, it's fun to watch this project evolve. Sometimes I found myself just watching it and being fascinated by what it's doing. It does have a life of its own.
You have great people on your team.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
That helps.
Without a doubt.
That helps indeed. Yeah. We touched a little bit on love as one car of Peace Train and some of the others. I know that we do want to just explore and go on a walking tour, take a look at some of the other things that we've been talking about. Does that sound like a great plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's do it.
So we're leaving love here, and the next one is gratitude. Love was the sleeper car, and this one is the bar car. The lead artist had a lifelong struggle with alcohol, so of course he wanted to build the bar car. There is no alcohol in
the bar car.
In this bar car. It's all filled with like family photos of the very early beginnings of Walter, as well as his family. For instance, his mother there. A lot of the things that are in here actually were pulled from the garbage at around ASU. And they were parts of student projects and things like that. And we used a number of those in order to kind of create the interior of gratitude. And then the last one is forgiveness. The lead artist on this one was my oldest daughter. It is the interactivity in this car is to leave some of your baggage there. So we have baggage tickets, and it's filled with old suitcases. And I'll just pull something out for you.
Oh my God.
Many of these suitcases have been being filled up with people's baggage for years and years and years. You got to be ready to dig into these, because
it can be heavy.
Amazed at what people have left in this car, but that's exactly what this car was built for. We talked a little bit about Mona Lisa, and her message is to transcend your fear. And she can instill fear. Examples are she's built after Da Vinci's drawings of a tank. So even once you get up here, it's these are very pokey and sharp. And the top used to be spun by 2 pulse jet rockets, which were in World War II, weapons of not only terror, but also destruction, but especially terror in that they were very, very loud. And when they stopped making that loud sound, the bomb would drop. And so a very horrendous, no real direction, hitting civilian targets and all sorts of just terrible things.
So Mona Lisa does have flame effects.
She does. Yeah. You see those circles? There's a flame effect that comes out of each of those, and there's a number of them, and you can play it like a keyboard.
Oh, wow.
And she shoots liquid propane, and that's ignited by a little spark plug.
There's only another theme here at Walter, and that's fire. And pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
That's like a big theme here.
Yeah. Like one of the principles of Walter is to surprise people. And it turns out fire is very surprising.
Yes.
And we also have this respect for fire. And that's why we would work with like rocket scientists, professional equipment, and really, make that flame appreciation as safe as possibly.
Wow.
This is the rainbow portal, as you mentioned before. This was it was existing on site, and it was where they would have been able to do like paint, spray, furniture, things like that. An amazing artist on our team, Christina Ricky, came up with this idea of how to make the colors, which are very unusual. This is probably one of the most popular areas of the warehouse.
Yeah.
I told you about the Kubelwagen. Stretchen is built on a military Humvee and pulls Peace Train. Of course, we like Volkswagen, so that's actually a Volkswagen fire bus, like a fire truck. And that would have been used in a textile mill and is one of a really very original Volkswagen fire engine. So we have 4 fire engines in this place.
That's amazing.
Now, you're going to see a lot of kind of equipment here. We're getting ready to go do a very large flame effect show. These are isopropyl alcohol flame effects, nitrogen pressurized tanks that are controlled through a computer, and they're able to shoot almost a silent, about 25 to 30 foot flame, and we call it Medusa. And then, of course, there's Walter, the guy that started it all. He spent 20 years or so outside, broken down, just a playground for kids at the Gold King mine in Jerome. It's even just bizarre to me how much he's done since then. And that is his love right there, Calliope. So they're both from the 1960s. Walter's a little older than Calliope. She was an over-the-road semi-trailer. She was modified to bring in vintage audio equipment. She's the muse of poetry and music. So that's where Calliope comes
Suiting.
Yes, right.
She in 2013 really kind of kicked off what I think now is Walter Productions.
So the DJs, when the building first opened, would play up here,
Right.
and have since moved down.
When this is a trailer and we're out remote somewhere, this makes perfect sense often for the artist to be here. But when we moved into the building, we realized like, here's the artist's experience is kind of looking through the truss.
Yeah.
And we wanted to actually turn this space over to the guests as opposed to the artist. Sometimes having the artist so close to the audience, it's so engaging.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Both for the artist and for the audience. So this is really where it always happened in the past, was right up here.
Yeah.
And then her friend over there, which is Heathen, that body is basically what's underneath both Walter and Big Red. This one's from the 1970s. It kind of looks like a Volkswagen bus. And that's where the inspiration came to make Walter into a Volkswagen bus. But you can see that giant cannon that's on the roof. He's really a fire extinguisher. He has a separate engine that just runs the pump, about 1,500 gallons of water that gets turned into 10 times that volume using foam.
Wow.
And they're meant to drive very close up to a flaming fuselage, discharge their contents in 1 minute, and try to put out the flame. Walters were built for one reason, just to save people, nothing else. And then there's the second guy there. That's Big Red. We found this 1950s Walter Airport fire truck. And then we put an air-cooled 4-cylinder engine, just like a Volkswagen Beetle.
So cool.
He actually is diesel, but he has a 4-cylinder air-cooled engine. He's chain-driven. Is a really amazing drivetrain that our team figured out. But this guy is just a goofball and loves to have fun and loves everybody.
Makes everybody smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was fun.
That was fun. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and for showing us the magic of the warehouse. And I feel like the more people get to understand a little bit more about what all of the significance is here in the warehouse, the more respect and love will come right back to this space, because it's pouring out of every corner, out of every board, every metal piece. It's all full of love. Yeah.
It's an honor to be able to bring this to our community.
Yeah, thank you. Where can, if people want to get involved in anything that Walter is doing in terms of volunteering or getting involved maybe with the nonprofit, the Walter Hive, where do you suggest they go?
Yeah, so right now there's a number of different websites. And so if you're interested in the not-for-profit work, it's thewalterhive.org.
Okay.
If you're interested in the global kind of vision of what Walter Productions is doing, walterproductions.com. There's also a Walter Warehouse and a walterstudios.com, so you can find out what's happening at those individually. And then Walter Station is where you can find out all the things related to our beer and our restaurant.
Stop by and have a brew and a bite to eat. Yeah, it's a fantastic place to chill. So yeah, thank you again, Kirk. We really appreciate you.
Thanks, Kirk.
Thank you for coming. We love having you here.
Thank you.